Welcome to the Running Channel podcast with me, Sarah Hartley, Andy Baddeley to my right, Rick Kelsey to my left, or if you're watching, Rick Kelsey to my right. And Andy to
left,
my
better side.
Today on the podcast, we are talking about personal best and running a personal best. The clue's in the name, it's going to feel really personal, but the feeling we might all be able to share, and that's what we're going to delve into today.
Yeah, and it might be particularly relevant because we're deep into autumn marathon season with a lot of races coming up. So either you might be about to attempt a PB, or you might have just smashed one yourself, or you might be taking on a personal first, because it's not always just about time.
And as always, we'll also be answering your questions. Shall we get into it?
Yes.
Why have we gone all news broadcaster?
Because I
Rick
was
Kelsey?
up really late last night.
Oh
and you know
my
what? You know what
God.
happened? So yesterday, Sunday mornings, I take Elizabeth swimming.
Nice.
And when I have always been the same on sock, shoe. I have always had the same approach. I think people are mad. Generally, I think they have problems. I took her swimming, and normally when I drop her off, instead of going to the viewing gallery, I go for a Hydroglow facial, because they do facials upstairs at the swimming pool.
What is your life? What is your life?
And I found myself
I don't know.
accidentally.
Sarah and I are just like, yeah. We don't even really think that that's ridiculous, but that is okay. Carry on. So you don't watch her swim?
I
You
do.
don't
Watch
care
her
about
go,
her
watch her
personal
go in,
development?
then she can't see me. I do watch her. Watch her
But
at the
there's a
beginning.
viewing gallery.
Yeah. And then you can't see her after a bit because they go around the corner. So listen, I bounce it out. I bounce it out. So anyway, I was in the changing rooms
Terrible.
and I found myself doing sock, shoe. No.
Yeah.
Sock. Yeah, I did. Oh, God.
Is that because the floor was wet though?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I think this is the exception to the rule.
That is why there is a seat in the changing room.
Yeah, but
Sit down, lift both feet
it
off the
wasn't
floor.
practical. It
I
wasn't
don't
I can't lift
practical.
both feet off the floor. Do you think I am?
do it right now.
I love the noise.
That is the noise that Andy makes when he opens doors, when he sits down, when he stands up,
100% true.
when he gets an email.
Yeah.
So-
So get anyone from you, it's a much more. Oh no.
I don't judge people who are in swimming pools or are sitting on the back of their car changing their shoes after a muddy trail run. If that's the situation,
I do, because there's a perfectly good way out so that you
Sarah,
don't
I think
become
you're
a
being
sock
mean.
shoe,
Yeah,
sock
but I
shoe.
think
it's her royal
You
snarkiness.
can
I
think
put
you're
your
being mean.
sock on, you can then balance your heel on the shoe whilst you
Yeah.
put your other sock on, or you could wear a croc.
Oh.
And
Right.
just eliminate any need for a sock.
Come
You're
on,
in a
guys.
swimming pool. It's September.
I might crock it up next week.
Tito in the office is still
Yeah.
wearing shorts. He's absolutely
I'm
adamant
wearing-
on
I'm
the
wearing
fact
shorts.
you're
I'm
wearing
wearing
shorts.
shorts.
Yeah.
Tito's adamant that
Yeah.
he's not going to put a pair of trousers on until it is officially
Yeah,
calendarly winter.
Well, are you also, because one of these people who won't put the central heating on until November the 1st?
Oh my God. There was always someone at school where their parents wouldn't put the
Christmas.
central heating on until like November the 20th. And they would come in with one extra blanket every day
Wow.
to try and be a bit warmer.
Ah.
Anyway,
It's because you went to a fancy school, isn't it?
Oh,
And their
yeah,
their parents had
yeah.
spent all of the money
Yeah.
on school fees, so they couldn't afford
They
the
didn't
heating.
you didn't do a phase start with you. Topical.
they were teasing me about this before the podcast. But anyway, shall we talk about running? We're 3 minutes
Yeah,
in.
let's get
Yes.
relatable.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Can I talk about park run?
Yes.
Go for it.
I went to park run this weekend.
Okay,
Or
good. So
last
it's relevant.
weekend.
You just
Okay.
don't just want to talk
Right.
about
I
it.
just want to talk
Yeah.
about it generally. I've been trying to get over my mental wobble that I seem to be getting
yeah.
in all of my runs. So I posted about this on social media and I had a lot of people relating to it. I went to park run. And have you guys ever been to a park run where they read out the time halfway through?
Oh, they
Oh, you
give
mean
you
like
like
someone
a
on the
split.
corner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. A lot of people, this was groundbreaking, but there are some park runs. A lot of the ones that I've none-such. I was at Clapham at the weekend.
Is it a lapped one? I guess that must be for you to read.
Yeah, so it's a lap.
You mean someone's shouting it out on a one?
Yeah.
So
So,
you come through the
quite
lap,
often
like,
on
10
a,
minutes,
on a
15
two-lap course, or they'll stand at the
Yeah.
halfway mark and be like 11:25, 11:30, 11, like whatever
very
it
useful,
is.
I think.
Yeah.
Really useful. I got to that point. I was trying to run. I'd set myself a goal of trying to go out quite fast.
Yeah.
First kilometre, I was trying to beat my watch's estimated time.
Yeah.
That went out the window very quickly, but I was trying to do 4:30 first kilometre, second and third 4:20, last two 4:15.
My gosh.
I got to, I know,
I
punchy,
can't work that. That's around about 22 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah.
21 and a half, but yeah.
Yeah.
So then that at halfway, they read it out and it was 11:26 and I felt the wobble. And I was just like, oh, I feel sick. I want to drop out. I can't do it. So I covered up my watch. I turned it to just telling the time.
Yeah.
And I just tried to keep up with the people around me and ran. And I ran a negative split. or like pretty much bang on. I'd ran 22:52.
22:52.
Yeah.
It's fast.
And we talk about it a lot that you can't do some. So I mean, that wasn't you trying to run a personal best, but it was just you trying to run a specific time that meant something to you to kind of get over this wobble that you'd had. And it happens so often, doesn't it, that you talk yourself out of it. Like, and we are talking about PBs, or we're going to in a minute. You can't run a PB, which by definition is the fastest you've ever made your body go, without some level of self-doubt or discomfort. Like you're doing something you've never done before. And it's quite hard to keep going when it gets really tough. So we're definitely going to talk about that, I reckon.
Yeah. How's your week of not running?
Andy? I'm still not running, but my rehab's going really well. So
nice.
I'm now pain-free walking around. I've been diligently doing my sort of daily calf exercises and progressing those, which has been really good. So fingers crossed, I'll run in the next few days, or that's my plan. I'm going to try and take my own advice, which is give it at least 1 or 2 days past the day when I first think I could run, just to be safe.
Have you become a graffiti artist in your time as well?
Why say that based on
I think
what
this
I'm
is
wearing
reference to Andy's little painting jacket.
I've got a work shirt on, or what do you call it? An overshirt.
Is that what you call it? An overshirt.
Yeah.
But you're running, Rick. I very much enjoyed this because we've been working together. We've been working together on your training plan for the half. That's been gradually
10% rule.
Gradually stepping up.
Gradually
stepping up every week over the last few months.
What's going on?
And then we talked about. I was like, I think you should run 12K. That was the discussion.
Yes.
So then I saw your Strava activity last week.
Correct.
12.00 kilometers. No wasted effort from Rick Kelsey. Exactly to the letter of what we talked about.
How was 12K?
I ran down my road and up my road until it went.
At 12K.
And then you just stopped.
Just stopped.
Yeah. How did it feel?
It was quite hard, actually.
Oh, no. The good news is that on the day, you only have to run like around about 10K, less than 10K, more, and then you're done.
Yeah, just more than halfway, broken the back of it.
Yeah.
Plus, you'll have Sarah as
that seems quite
cheerleader.
hard because obviously I'm going for 2:05. So that's it. 5 minutes.
2:05 for the half.
2:05. Yeah.
Is that what we're aiming for?
Which
Oh
a
my
split time is 5 minutes 55 seconds per kilometre.
Right.
So that's what my aim
And
is.
that's your 5 past 2.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah,
mid-October. But no, there is. If you probably have to go back about 10 shows, but there is logic behind this.
Yeah, I love the 5 past thing. I think we've got a lot of people also loving this. But this is
It's to stop overcrowding, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to be surrounded by too many people.
No, I want to have open plains.
Yeah, stare at those fields.
Yeah,
that's what's also, funnily enough, written on your rider for this podcast.
Yeah.
Open plains. And he
wants
to be able to go for whatever that face treatment was that you said you go for.
Hydroglow
face treatment.
Yeah, I want a tundra of possibilities.
But today, your half marathon, actually, you've talked about running 2:05, 5 past 2.
Yeah.
This is an amazing challenge that you're doing, but really isn't about the time. It's about you taking on something that is this next step in your journey back from injury. We're going to be talking about it a lot on the running channel now, but it's also supported by ASICS and their Running Moves Your Mind campaign. So this is your part of that. And we're really excited to follow your journey to do this because you're a little bit worried, nervous, all of those things about it.
Well, I didn't think it was going to come so soon, certainly. Yeah. And the fact that we're doing this in mid-October, Sarah's obviously going to do it with me. And, it's not about a time.
Yeah.
I know that's what I'm going for, but it's not about the time. It's about, getting out there and thinking, I'm doing a half marathon for the first time ever post-surgery. Definitely didn't think I would ever be in this position that I'd be doing a half marathon and living in North London and it being so hilly. I just feel like the choice of course on the day, if it is flat, then then you've got
those training advantages, right? You've basically been altitude in North London.
Exactly, yeah.
North London, or as up London, as Sarah likes to call it.
Training with the Sherpas, on Highgate Hill. Is actually, have you seen Highgate Hill?
Yeah. Have you ever run up it?
Yeah, run up. Yeah, last week.
You're kidding me. On that 12K run, you ran up Highgate Hill. No, you didn't.
I did.
That's such a liar.
I'd say look at my maps, but they're hidden.
So only he knows. We can't even prove it.
Yeah, you can't even prove it. You love that, don't you?
Well, you said I couldn't draw. You said I couldn't draw a face, Sarah.
Yeah, I know. Hey, that video's not out yet.
No.
Well, it might be.
Just
not sure.
you wait.
So
Anyway,
we're going to be following Rick's journey through this half marathon. We're going to be talking about it. That's really exciting. But today we're talking specifically about running personal bests. How that feels.
Have you guys ever run a personal best and it's felt awful? Because I want to start with when me and Tito went and ran a half marathon a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I asked him at the end, he just felt like he was buzzing the whole way through when I was running with him. And I asked him at the end, I was like, did you enjoy that? And he was like, no, of course not. But I just faked it. So like, have you guys ever had like running a PB where you've either enjoyed or not enjoyed it within the actual race?
I think your memories change after the fact. I think your memory of what it felt like is influenced by how you perform. So I think you sort of, when you run that personal best and cross the line, I think that you have this then slightly like rose tinted view of what it felt like. Certainly as time fades and it's like it's more of all of my PBs are a very distant memory. But they didn't get easier. But I think that most of my personal bests, in fact, I was really proud at one point that I think all of my personal bests on the track, which was my career, were set in races where I was in the top 3. So I was never really in any time trial races where I finished 10th or 15th or something and got dragged around to fast time. I was being competitive and kind of winning or nearly winning.
Yeah.
And then...
Do you think that would have made a difference? If you'd run a personal best, but in like a competitive environment, you hadn't kind of podiumed.
Yeah.
Would that have changed how you felt about that personal best?
I think so, yeah. Although I'd love to have run faster than I did. I never felt like I really got to my potential on the track in the times that I posted. But I did feel like I was competitive and won a few races, so that was exciting.
You have got PBs ahead of you, though, because you PB'd for the first time in Valencia in the marathon in 2023.
Yeah.
So you do have that possibility to
and
get
the
it
half
again.
marathon. So the half marathon and the marathon, the only real distances left that I think I can improve.
Or an ultra marathon.
Yeah.
Don't rule it out,
I am ruling that out.
We have ruled that out.
Yeah, I really don't want to do it.
I haven't ruled
We
that
have
out.
ruled that out, honestly.
But I think that mostly I remember from those races where I ran really well, because I was focused on being competitive, and I appreciate this isn't how everyone approaches it, but because I was just focusing on trying to win, I wasn't thinking about the time and the splits too much. I would have been peripherally aware of them, but I was just all of a sudden you're in that, you're 100, 200 to go, and then I'm just going as hard as I can, cross the line. Oh wow, personal best, absolutely buzzing.
Yeah.
Because I trusted my racing instincts to just kind of race and try and keep up.
And that is what we've seen in Paris a lot, actually, is that you get those fast races where you look at the results afterwards and it is like PB, season best, like all of that stuff.
Yeah, I think doing a PB, you can get it and you can get there and you can chase that PB at a normal kind of Sarah and Rick level, not an Andy level. And you can chase it for months, maybe years, and then you hit it, and then you can maybe have some kind of life change. Maybe you have a baby, maybe you have an injury, and you can go away for years and you can look at it, because it's kind of what happened to me in some ways. I had a PB back in 2019. I had surgery. Have I told you about that? It's called an osteotomy.
You hardly ever mentioned it.
High tibial osteotomy, just to clarify, because there are different types of osteotomies out there, but I won't go into too much detail now. Anyway,
sorry.
Everyone's still there? Everyone's still there?
Yeah,
right.
I think Dawn, our favourite podcast listener, she's already asleep by this point.
Yeah,
Night, Dawn.
But on a try to be serious note, getting that PB, and for other people, it can sit there and it can sit there for years, and it can be quite in some ways intimidating, because you think, oh, maybe I can't get back to that again, because I've done it, and is it a big deal? So then it's like a creep. Then you've just got to try and creep your way back to, if it's possible, if you're in that kind of fitness, because that's what happens to me. That's what happened to me. I PB'd this year, 2024, 5 years after the last one.
But then do you think context is really important when it comes to like thinking about PBs as well? Because I think for a lot of people now, and certainly sometimes the biggest noise that you hear on social media is people chasing PBs, and perpetually it feels like getting PBs. And
It's not a problem, is it?
I don't think it's a problem, but I do think at some point you realise that you can't be in PB shape all the time.
Oh yeah, you
I
can't
think
do it
there's
every
that
week.
there's that really exciting moment if you go from, like, mine and your running journeys are relatively similar, where you go from, you build it up, you get to a stage where maybe you're going to park run every week, or you're doing like lots of just running on your own, and you are able to get faster. Each 5k is faster than the last one, but then I think that can quite quickly turn into, okay, no, I am at my max. I'm having to dig so deep to shave off a few seconds, and then
It's
I think
changing your week.
Yeah,
so you're
like,
putting everything. So you're taking your mind off other things. You mean?
No, I think like it gets to a point where you're working so hard in order to run a PB that it does take weeks in order to get to the point where you're chipping off a few seconds, and then that can feel quite like demoralising.
That's why you've got to kiss the PB and not high jump it.
Oh yeah, so you're talking about like Mondo Duplantis and his world records. He only ever puts it at 1 centimetre at a time.
You just got to kiss it. So otherwise it just gets...
So you don't want to put it out of sight that you're never
going to put it out of sight.
That's hard as well, because then you see people who are knocking, like the time between my first marathon and my second marathon, I took 27 minutes off.
Half an hour?
Yeah. Because
that's a whole swimming class.
Partly because I crashed and bad so badly in my first marathon.
That's a whole poorly timed and produced Running Channel podcast episode.
But
that's magnificent.
That's how... Yeah, really good. But then I would look at that now and think, oh, actually, is that why when I'm approaching marathons now, I want to take that amount of time off? If I go from the marathon that I ran last year, where I ran a PB in Osaka, 3:49, to the marathon that I ran in London this year, 3:44, I am not proud of that PB at all.
5 minutes is a long way though.
I know, but this is what's so ridiculous. I loved London Marathon. It was incredible. That race is phenomenal. I am so annoyed at myself that I do not think of 5 minutes as that 5 minute PB as good or something to be proud of, or like something like I just don't. I forget that I've run it.
Because the early stages of your running career, and this must be true for a lot of people, are set by those like big chunks that you knock off.
Yeah.
And you can knock them off really regularly, maybe not in the marathon. But then all of a sudden, now you know, Sarah, that probably to run any PB actually across any distance, you're going to probably have to put in 10, 15 plus weeks of solid training. And that's a totally different mindset.
But then that's where I think it's quite interesting to go, like you can simulate that PB feeling without needing to run a PB. So so for example, like the park run that I ran at the weekend, I was probably digging, like not quite all out, but I was digging as deep as you probably do in a PB. And I think then the area that you can get muddled in is if you go like, right, okay, if I want to run a PB across any distance, I'm going to need to train for 8 weeks. Yeah. So I'm just not going to race or like try and run all out or just try and go hard, because then you get into that situation. I think that's where I am now, where I'm like, oh no, scary.
Yeah.
Can't dig that deep. Also though, but in line with that context as well, all of this is comparing yourself to other people or comparing yourself to a previous version of yourself.
Yeah, that's been the hardest thing for me, right? I'm aware I can't run any of my old PBs now. So I was trying to run a 5K fast this year. That was something I was struggling with, because ultimately if I ran really well, and I was going to be probably 2 minutes slower than I'd run at my best. Yeah. And 2 minutes over 5K is quite a lot. So, but I'd kind of made peace with that, and I was enjoying the small progress and chipping 5-10 seconds here and there in training sessions or workouts, and the pace that I was going to take on. Because I do think there's a big difference between me then and now. What I was going to say, which this is probably too much information, but I don't think I ran a PB in my career where I wasn't sick afterwards.
Really?
Who's the tennis player? Is it Draper, the British tennis player who got to the semi-finals of the US Open recently, and he was sick 4 times?
Yeah, he was actually ill though. I think.
But
or was that fatigue?
But I read an interview with him, and he said that his nerves often appear external. So he externally expresses his nerves, and throughout his career, he's actually vomited multiple times. Even though he doesn't feel nervous, he's not kind of shaking when he's hitting the ball or when he's serving or when he's tossing it up, and it doesn't affect his physical game, but it affects his physical state. So he vomits that nervous energy out of his body.
What would you say yours was, just from digging that deep?
But no, so I've had both where pre-race or the night before, This was when I was much younger. I didn't have this during my
I
career.
remember you doing
Then
this.
Then I was sick from the nerves. But no, racing wise, it was literally pushed my body to the absolute limit. And then you have the buzz of finishing. You see the time. You're absolutely amazing. And then it was different for different races. But sometimes I'd be like literally within 2 minutes of finishing, need to be sick. Other times I'd manage to like celebrate. I don't know, see people, then get my kit on, go out. Often you then cool down outside the stadium.
And then you're sick?
Yeah. And it might be like
Ever in
15 minutes to 30 minutes
in an
afterwards.
inappropriate place?
No, I don't. No. Just I would always manage to find a quiet corner or a bin.
A good bin.
Yeah. Disgusting.
Yeah.
Sorry. There are no trigger warnings there. But yeah, that's. But I can't do that anymore. I don't think I can physically push
sick.
myself to those limits.
Really?
To the point where I would feel like that, and that is fairly unique, I think, for the shorter distances because of the amount of lactate that you accumulate by working anaerobically. So it is different. But
I don't think I've been sick after a race, but I do feel sometimes close. I mean, even on Saturday, we had some friends over for parkrun on Saturday, and I wasn't kind of pushing PB kind of 23 minutes. I was about 23 and a half, and
That's close.
yeah, that's still really close. Yeah, you're so
that's
consistent. It's unreal.
That's knocking on the door of a PB.
This is why I think you've actually got quite a lot more in your locker. I don't think you're at 100% all out in those parkruns because when you say, I was taking it easy around 23:30, and then on other days your PB is 30 seconds faster than that. It's like,
No,
well,
I've
I
run a
think-
5K with Rick.
And was he at his limit?
that was at his limit.
Maybe you're a lot fitter now with the longer stuff though. That's the thing as well.
Yeah, that's the
Sarah,
thing, it
Sarah and
will
I
help.
did Victoria Park in East London in March. Did we do that?
Yeah, February or March. It was
February,
early
March.
this year.
And
'Cause I remember
it was
we
cool
came-
conditions and flat.
We came back after Christmas and you were like, I can do it. I can run this 5K PB. Just let
Yeah.
me know whenever you want. I'm ready.
ready for it, yeah.
Every week.
Yeah.
What do you think then? What's the best feeling of running a PB? Is it during? Is it afterwards? Like what makes us want to chase
It's
it?
not during, is it?
No, that's what I mean about
But
those
I
rose
don't
tinted
know.
glasses. I think looking back on a PB, you're like, I knew I was going to win that race. I knew I was going to run faster. I felt great.
I think you
But-
always have the first, depending on the length of the race. I think the first moment's always quite good if it is a
no.
PB race.
Oh, no, I think
First
you need
moments in the run.
Yeah.
No,
No.
I think even in mine there were moments of self-doubt, like where you got a few, I mean, a 5K PB I was running for, well, I don't even remember what my PB is,
Wasn't it 13?
13:20 on
Yeah.
the track. So for the first 3 or 4 minutes, you're just thinking, oh God, 10 more minutes of this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
on,
wouldn't
I'm
that
on
be
my
lo-
limit here.
Wouldn't that be lovely to be 3 minutes into a 5K and
know,
go 10
yeah.
minutes left?
Okay, yeah. Not very relatable.
Can't relate.
But the point is that then I used to have real specific mental markers in the race that I was going to get to. So in the 5K, it was trying to get to 3K coasting. And it never really felt like that. But it was. But the point was, every time I felt like it was a real struggle, and I started to
see.
have those thoughts of 10 minutes to go,
Yeah.
I'd bring my thoughts back to just my breathing, or like get to that next point on the track over there, or focus on the person's back in front of me, and then just all of a sudden a few more minutes pass and a few more minutes pass, and then you get to 3K, and then I would have it in my brain literally on the track. That's 5 laps to go. So as soon as it said 5 laps to go on the track, then I was like, right, my brain would switch. And I was like, right, the race starts now. And all of a sudden my mindset would fundamentally change. So I'd have those kind of bits in the race to aim for.
That's a state of mind that we don't really know about, though,
No.
isn't it? Is it
I got nervous just talking about
Within,
this.
Yeah,
within
exactly.
running, I have no state of mind currently.
No.
Oh,
But
Sarah.
is our state of mind not a state of mind, a runner's mind, until you sleep that night? So what does running a PB actually feel like? Well, it feels like the rest of your day, doesn't it? So for me, it's like it's not that enjoyable while you're doing it. It's probably not enjoyable in the 90 seconds afterwards. But
A bit like the Rain Channel podcast recording every week.
but until you go to sleep that day, you've got
Yeah.
all the endorphins and you feel ace.
But I was going to say,
Yeah.
I think actually, if I think back to any PB that I've run, the thing that's made it so much more enjoyable is it's not just a personal thing. Like, yes, okay, it's you and your body that's run that distance, the fastest you ever have in that moment. But actually, I think the moment that it tips over into like, what a great day is if you've run with someone, them cheering you on and celebrating with you. The first volunteer that you see at a race that puts the medal on. At the park run at the weekend, I ran into Alice, who was volunteering and scanning the barcodes. Like, had a
Yeah.
great chat with her. It's the people around you that makes that, like, that enables you to celebrate that PB even more, and are the people that like shake you and go like, no, that was a PB, celebrate it, like don't be disheartened, or go, you've got more in the tank, you can go a little bit further. I think it's that like shared feeling and experience that makes it so cool. And it's probably why we all continue to chase it, even though in the moment we hate it.
Yeah, the power of shared experience is something else. And what you said there actually is everything that we hope the running channel is. We're your friends who run alongside you, whether that's virtually or through the podcast in your ears. And we're sort of ready to be there and hand you that first drink.
Someone
after
might
the race.
actually be listening to this right now whilst trying to run a PB. So should we all give a quick bit of advice, Rick?
The faster you run, the quicker you finish. Slow and steady wins the race.
Quick bit of advice, Andy?
This is your chance. If you want to run faster than you've ever run before in your life, take that chance right now.
And mine, I still don't know mental stuff in a race, so don't worry if you're struggling, but switch off, enjoy it, and for the next 10 seconds, just think about your breathing.
Nice.
And now, let's talk about the news, your questions, and I got a special favour to ask at the end too.
Lovely.
Paralympics, hugely successful games.
Big crowds. It's been amazing to watch it on TV.
Team GB came second in
Second.
the medal
That's
table.
more important.
Yes. Yeah.
Second to China.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We didn't have to do any maths this time round.
Thank goodness.
We came second.
We did.
Good job.
Yeah, we didn't have to fudge it.
We didn't have to fudge it. Very good.
And we surpassed Tokyo 2020 when it comes to the number of medals. And GB won medals in all but one sport. Isn't that incredible? 18 out of 19. You know, there were so many moments, but I'm just going to pick that one moment from the high jump where he's on crutches, the athlete, and he puts one crutch down and he puts another crutch down, and then he just hops and goes over the bar, and the crowd just go absolutely wild. And I just thought that moment for me, watching the high jump, what these athletes do just summed up the whole Paralympic Games, and that's why it's so awesome.
Yeah, and I saw Hannah Cockcroft get one of her multiple medals that she's adding to her incredible tally in the wheelchair racing and athletics. She's just an absolute superstar. So I've loved it. Real inspiration. And there's been a lot of chat. I've seen Tanny Ray Thompson talking about what the legacy will be from this Games and so on. So that's the important thing.
I think
Sorry, I was just going to say on that, I think the legacy, the thing that is going to last in Paris is that a lot of the transport systems have become much more friendly to disabled athletes and disabled people.
Interestingly, I wasn't sure. What I was reading was like, for example, the metro's not accessible.
Not the metro, but other parts of the transport system.
So there have been improvements.
Yeah, I listened to a program and had someone on my radio show last night.
Did you do a radio show?
I did a radio show, yeah.
Don't plug it.
And one of the journalists who's been covering the Games, he said that that's what the Parisians are most proud of, that with the exception of the metro, which isn't as user-friendly as the London Underground, that transport has evolved, it's changed, they've done it quickly. For the Olympics, they built, I think, 30 kilometres of new cycle routes that us three were cycling around on. And actually, that will be one of the legacies of this Games. For the Olympics, it was the fact that, they created an Olympic Games where they didn't have to build that much new infrastructure, and they used existing fantastic, beautiful places that Paris has to offer and built stadiums on a temporary basis around it. But from the Paralympics point of view, I think that transport issue has really helped. Just quickly on LA, I mean, they've got so much to do in LA, and it's going to be such an exciting Games, but, the locals are already saying they've built a lot of this transport stuff and nobody's using it. So we'll see what happens.
Really?
There. Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, we had another news story, which is really interesting. And I got this completely wrong because it was Mondo Duplantis, pole vault world record holder, against Karsten Warholm, the 400-meter hurdle world record holder. They took on a 100-meter head-to-head the night before the Zurich Diamond League, which is so cool to see that they could make this amazing showpiece event just about two athletes.
Love it.
Really, really cool. They did a similar thing back in the day between Donovan Bailey and Michael Johnson, so the 100-meter and 200-meter Olympic champs at the time. But I think that ended up in a massive kind of anticlimax because one of them pulled up, or maybe both of them pulled up injured.
Really?
Whereas this one, my money had been on Karsten Warholm because I thought he'd be better coming out of blocks. But Mondo Duplantis won it 10.3 something, which is
it was very
phenomenally
close.
fast. It was really close. 0.10, I think.
Yeah, what I love is all of the screenshots of them coming over the line and some of the poses that Mondo was doing.
Oh, you're looking across, right? Because there was a friendly rivalry between the two of them, but there was quite a big build-up. But yeah, I spoke to another athlete who actually had seen Mondo training out of blocks several months ago. So he's clearly been building up his speed for this.
I think this is great though. Like this is what sport needs. It needs like these silly rivalries that happened before.
Yeah, because
like,
we're
so
talking about
good.
that now in a way that we wouldn't probably. I mean,
coming
he
out in
has
the boxing gloves and jacket and stuff.
So
Absolutely loved
good.
it. And then another piece of interesting news, following on from our excitement about the 1500 meter rivalry and so on at the Olympics, there was a rematch in the Zurich Diamond League a day after the Bornholm against Mondo head to head, and actually Nuguse from the US came out on top here, beating Ingebrigtsen, Josh Kerr, all of the guys basically that had been in the Olympics.
Yeah, Josh Kerr was 5th, wasn't he?
Yeah. But then 3 days later, he flew over to New York to a race that I've done a few times, which is the best race in the world, I would say, the Fifth Avenue Mile. A straight shot down Fifth Avenue, starting by the Met Museum on the east side of Central Park. It's such a cool event.
That does sound really good.
Yeah.
That does sound cool.
And Josh Kerr won it in 3:44. And that record previously was 3:47 Sydney Marie, I think, from 30 plus years ago. So that record has stood for a long, long time. And he smashed it by 3 seconds.
Wow.
Especially as well, I saw an interview with him where he was saying it's like, it's quite hard gearing yourself up for racing so much and like coming out and being competitive.
Yeah.
Maybe what he needed was for that order of events to play out, to like go fly out to New York a little bit hungry.
Yeah, exactly. I always struggle to race after championships because you've done the thing you set out to do that year, which is running the championships. You feel a bit flat.
Yeah.
And then you come out for the first race or two afterwards and you feel awful. And then sometimes it can come back, and just switching from track to the road just makes it feel a little bit different as well. And being in New York is an inspiring place to be. And
then finally, we want to pay our respects to Rebecca Cheptegei and send best wishes to her family and her friends. If you want to read more about this really sad story, then head to therunningchannel.com, where we cover lots of different articles like this.
Right, shall we do some questions?
Yeah.
To Lawrence from Winchester in the UK. Lawrence says that he's a 59-year-old runner who's managed to break 5K, 10K, 10-mile and marathon PBs this year despite having a minor stroke.
Show off.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm joking, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And you deserve every respect for that. That's an unbelievable story.
I now face another challenge, which is on the 21st of October. I'm having a level 3 ACDF. Now, we don't do acronyms on this podcast, which is luckily why I checked out what that meant.
Oh, you've looked it up?
Oh, what does it mean?
Anterior, cervical,
Yeah.
dissectory and fusion.
Okay.
Which is basically removing 3 damaged discs in his neck and fusing 3 vertebrae together.
Oh gosh, that sounds horrible.
He had a serious bike crash in 2012, survived a broken neck, but time's caught up with him. And his question is, what can he do to prepare himself for a 3-month break from running? I'm already thinking about lowering my calorie intake as soon as I'm allowed to get back to walking and exercise on the static bike. How do I try and maintain as much fitness as possible? Also, how do I cope with the boredom? I do 2 fitness activities 5 days a week, so normally I don't have time to be bored. Lawrence.
First thing for me is the immediate kind of talking about calorie intake. You're having a pretty serious medical operation here, and that takes its toll physically as well. So I'd be saying, don't panic too much about the calories. Make sure you're going to be able to recover properly, which is going to mean eating properly as well. And then move on to what types of activities you're able to do. I would say to try to almost preload the fitness as much as you can. So not going overboard, but it's keeping up your activity level right up until the operation, so that you're not kind of losing any time there. And then the big thing is going to be a mental and psychological side of things, which is just not beating yourself up about the fact you can't do these things. This is a really serious thing.
Yeah.
So I would say those 3 months, it's going to be a long 3 months, but I would say please keep listening to us. We'll try and lift your spirits throughout that time and help you get back to it.
Also, getting excited about each step within the recovery is something that I've seen. Callum, who has a YouTube channel called The Distance Project, he I didn't realise how he'd injured it. I just thought he
stood on the back of his Achilles,
which
really
was awful.
wearing spikes on the track.
So he basically his Achilles gone. So he's had like quite a lengthy surgery and then getting back, but he has kind of approached it in that every step is exciting and you can celebrate it in the same way that you would celebrate a PB. Are you going from not being able to do any walking to being able to walk again? Great, smashed it. Like break it down and chunk it basically. Break it down into those mini goals and don't think of like, okay, the day I'm going to the day I'm aiming for is the day I can run again, because if that is a long time away, you need those like little interim goals as well.
Yeah, I had knee surgery in the March 2015, and I was, in my mind, that was my last shot at making the Olympics in 2016. So I knew I had 18 months or whatever, but I had to go back to ground zero of like no fitness. And if I'd been thinking after week 2 after my surgery, oh my goodness, how am I ever going to make it to the Olympics here? I'd have really struggled with that. But I did do exactly what you said, which is like listen to the experts and the physios and so on. And there'll be so much stuff that you need to do to tick boxes to move on to your next milestone. Tick those off. They're a real success. They're what to celebrate, I would hope. So wishing you loads of luck.
Yeah, don't lower your calorie intake too soon. Definitely. Lisa from West Lothian in Scotland. I did my first marathon earlier this year and will be running another one at the end of this month to keep my sister company on her first marathon. We are roughly similar speeds up to a half marathon, so probably won't be holding back pace-wise, but have a little more experience running longer distances and the mental challenges that come with it. Have you got advice for being a good running partner? I like this, especially around the 30-kilometre mark, where I started to struggle.
Sarah's been supported by me on a run, and Rick's been supported by Sarah, so maybe you need to...
I have quite a lot of experience now of pacing different people. I've paced Rick, I've paced Tom quite a lot.
Yeah.
I've paced other friends. Find out what that individual person wants.
Yes.
Because how you pace someone will depend on what they want. Tom hates it when I talk to him. So our runs are silent. See whether they want you to half step them and set the pace, or do they want you to be half a step behind
And let them set
the pace? Do they want you to chat away? Do they want a fake it till you make it approach? And at 30k, you're going to have an absolute party, think of a banger, sing along, have a gel, lovely. Or do they actually want you to acknowledge it, say like, this sucks, I'm having a terrible time too, thank goodness, me as well.
Or are they someone that will respond? I don't know whether you are the person who responds well to this or not, because I think I've tried both tacks with you, Sarah.
Harsh treatment,
tough love.
Yeah, I don't respond
Get here
well
now.
to tough
this
love.
is the pace.
I think the best experience where you've ever paced me was when I was trying to go sub 45 on a track, and you jumped in with 2.5k to go, and I was nowhere near being able to do it. And I remember you stepped in and I went, Andy, I'm scared. And you just went, do it, and just ran off. And I was like, okay. But that is what I needed in that moment.
I was more supportive than that, but yeah.
No, it was good. You were very harsh. But yeah, I think you have to gauge it. And in the moment, they're not going to be able to tell you, because it's a marathon. Their brain's going to be all over the place. So make a plan and agree on a plan beforehand, and then just follow that plan to the letter.
Super. Keep them coming in. We'll do some more next week.
Great. And lastly, a little favour to ask. I'll plug this again next week as well. But we have got an episode coming up where we're talking about running fears. So please could you email in podcast@therunningchannel.com. What are some of your running fears?
Oh gosh, I've got one.
Yeah, I know that some people find the track intimidating, for example.
Yeah.
Or it could be a specific distance. It could be being paced by me.
Yeah, or something completely different. It's a broad topic. So email in. And I look forward to hearing your fears and seeing you and hearing you and listening to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.